Okay everyone, so you are welcome to my YouTube channel, and today's lesson is basically more focused on accounting for grade 12. So the chapter that I'm going to introduce today is a company which I have picked up some question to try to attempt so that you can understand some basics of what is happening on a company. Okay, sometimes it is very important to understand the principle before you start with your calculations. Why? Because each and every calculation is come from a theory. The principle that you apply is from the theory. Okay, so never undermine the principle. Go through the gap principle. It will really help you to deal with the calculations. Okay, let's go to number 4.1. Remember, it's question paper from November 2019 exam. So I took the question 4. Then question 4.1, they said we have to match column A with column B. Okay, if you check on column A, they give us 4.1.1 until to 4.1.5. okay, let's start with 4.1.1. They said internal auditor, we have to match it with column number B. Then without wasting any time for 4.1, 4.1.1 is gonna be number C, which says internal auditors is employed by a company to ensure good internal control procedure. Then we have 4.1.2, MOI or memorandum of incorporation is gonna match with number E, the documents that establish the rules and procedure of the companies. Then 4.1.3 is gonna match with number D, which says that limited liability indicate that the company has legal personality of its own. Then 4.1.4 is gonna match with number A, which says the directors appointed by the shareholder to manage the company. Then 4.1.5, number last, is gonna match with number B. So you know that mostly question related to a theory, it doesn't repeat as it is, which means that you have to go through your textbook so that you understand more words that you can be able to match. Okay, then let's go to number 4.2, VIST Ltd. They say the financial year ended on 28 February 2019. It's very important to understand accounting period. Why? Because each and every calculation, it will be based on the financial reporting period, on the current financial reporting period. Okay, then it simply means that our financial year started on 1 March 2018. Then on the required, they said 4.2.1, calculate the amount for Roman figure number A and Roman figure number B in the fixed assets register. Then max allocation, they said is 5. Then Roman figure number 2, calculate profit or loss on sales of assets. Roman figure number 3, assets, fixed assets carrying value on 28 February 2019. Okay, then let's go to fixed assets register to check if we can be able to calculate Roman figure number 1 and Roman figure number 2. Okay, here is our fixed assets. Number A, they say a delivery vehicle was sold on 31 October 2018, but no entries were made to record this transaction. Once you hear that no entry were made, which means that you have to deal with the transaction. Okay, detail of the vehicle sold. They say delivery vehicle X43, date purchased 1 March 2016, and it sold 31 October 2018. which is within our reporting period. Okay, then they said it was sold for cash by amount of 195,000. They say the depreciation rate is 25% per annum using diminishing balance method. The diminishing balance method is the same as the carrying value method. We have to use the carrying value to calculate what? Our depreciation, or cost minus accumulated depreciation. Okay, let's take the Roman figure number 1. They are looking for what? For depreciation for the 2018 reporting period, the current reporting period that we are. Okay, but this depreciation is before they sold what? This vehicle. Remember, from November we didn't have this vehicle. From 1 November we didn't have this vehicle because it was sold on 31 October, which means that we have to apply pro rata on our calculation. We have to stop on the date that they sold this vehicle, which means that we have to count from 1 March until 31 October 2018 when we calculate this depreciation. Simple as that. Okay, so let's go to the calculation on how are we going to calculate it. Okay, then we're gonna say the carrying value. Remember, we're using diminishing balance method or carrying value method. Then we multiply by 25%. Okay, then remember it was sold on 31 October. Then we have to count for a month because it didn't last 12 months. If you count for a month, it's gonna give you 8 out of 12. Then if you punch this on your calculator, you're gonna get the amount of 37,500. Then you will be done with the Roman figure number 1. Okay, remember, if they said you have to use a cost model, you don't have to use what? The carrying value. You were going to use your cost amount of 400,000. However, because we are using a diminishing balance method, we have to subtract those all previous depreciations. Okay, then let's go to Roman figure number 2. They are looking for what? For carrying value. Okay, they are looking for carrying value. The formula of carrying value is cost minus accumulated depreciation. Okay, let's check. The cost price that we have is how much? Is 400,000. We can say 400,000 minus all those depreciation of the previous year. We're gonna start by 100,000, 75,000, and 37,000 that we calculated. Okay, 100,000, then minus 75,000, then again we minus 37,500. I hope it's clear. We use the formula which says cost minus accumulated depreciation. Once they said accumulated depreciation, they means that the total depreciation from the date that they purchased those assets until the end of reporting period, or until the date that we sold that vehicle. Then if you calculate the total, you're gonna get 187,500. Okay, then you will be done with Roman figure number 2, which is having 5 marks. I hope this one is simple. Then let's go to the following question. The following question, they said we have to calculate a profit or loss on sales of assets. Okay, now we have to determine whether these people, they sold this vehicle with a profit or they sold it with a loss. All right, very simple. Now let's check how much did they sold this vehicle. They sold it by 195,000. Let's put it, they sold it by 195,000, but the value of this vehicle, it was how much on the date of sold? We have to determine. The value is the carrying value that we are looking for. Remember, we calculated it on the previous question. The value is 187,500. They sold it by 187,500. Okay. Before you calculate, you have to understand whether they make a profit or loss. You have to understand whether they make a profit or loss. How are you going to see that? This is what we receive. This is the amount that we receive. This is what we have. What we receive is more than what we have, which means that this is a profit. Amount of 7,500. This is the profit. However, if we sold by a low amount, which means that we make a loss because we sold something which is worth more than what we receive. However, in this case, it's a profit. Okay. Then again, let's go back to the question. Then they said we have to calculate the fixed assets current value on 28 February 2019. Now we have to calculate the current value of fixed assets. Remember, this amount is very important. Why? Because on 4.2.3 they said we have to do what? A balance sheet, which means that this balance is the same balance that we are going to use when we calculate our balance sheet. Okay. Let's go to our balances first. Okay, they said on 28 February 2019, before taking into account all adjustments below, then they give us ordinary share capital, retaining earnings. Okay, the one that we are looking for is fixed assets. Then they give us what? The carrying value. Once they said a carrying value, it means that they already subtracted accumulated depreciation. Remember, it's before taking what? Account the adjustment. Okay. Then let's start with our calculation. We're gonna say an amount of carrying value which we were given is 10,190,000. That's where we have to start. But if they give us cost and accumulated, we first say cost minus accumulated, then we do adjustment. All right. Then we start with the first balance. Then remember, before taking into account of the vehicle which was sold, remember the first things we calculated a depreciation, which means that depreciation that we calculated on Roman figure number 1 reduce the current value that we have. Okay. Then after that, remember the value of that vehicle that was sold, we no longer have it on our books. Why do we have to keep it? No reason. Which means that we have to deduct it. We have to deduct the current value of the vehicle that was sold because we no longer have it. Then if you do a calculations, you're gonna get 9,965,000. Okay, simple as that. I think we can proceed from this one. Okay, then they said 4.2.2, they said calculate the correct net profit after tax for the year ended 28 February 2019. Indicate plus for increase and minus for decrease. Okay, remember, if they say calculate the correct net profit after tax, they are not requiring you to do the full income statement. You are only calculating adjustment that you have been given. Okay, if you check on the answer book that we are given, 4.2.2 for correct net profit after tax, you can see that it's a short space, which means that there's no need for you to write sales, cost of sales, gross profit, and so on and so on. You are only adjusting those additional information. Okay, then let's go to this question. They said the net number C, net profit before tax is 822,700 was calculated before correcting the following, which means that the following balances is the one that we are recalculating. Okay, the first balance that we have to start with is the net profit before what? Before tax. Okay, which on this question unfortunately they already give us, which means that there is no marks for this one. Then now we can start with our adjustment. Roman figure number 1, the provision for bad debts must be increased by 65,000. Okay, provision for bad debts, in this case they already give us the amount of 65,000. Okay, remember, some case they will say the bad debts, the provision for bad debts has been decreased. What is the difference? You have to understand that. If they said it has increased, it means that people that we were doubting that they're gonna pay, now there are more, which means that this is an expense to us, because now people that we are doubting that they will pay us, there are now more, which means that there is no, we are not expecting income. In this case we are expecting what? A loss. But if they said the provision for bad debts has decreased, which means that people that we were doubting, now they decrease, they are not so many, which means that we are expecting income, which means that we have to record it as a what? As an income. Okay, then in this case the provision for bad debts has increased, which means that we have to indicate by a what? By a bracket. Why bracket? It has increased, which means that more people are not going to pay us 65,000. Okay, then proceed. Bullet number 2, they say 9,800 of advertising contract applies to the next financial year. Remember, advertising is an expense. Okay, but in this case they said this 9,800 is for next year. What do we do in this case? Go back to gap principle. Look at the principle of matching concept. We state that incomes and expense must be recorded in the current year. In other words, they are saying you have to only include the amount that fit on only this current year that we are doing now, which means that the balance for the next year we don't have to include it. Okay, in other words, this 9,800 from which was expensed, it was for next year, which means now we have to do what? To reverse it, which means that when we record this one, advertising, we don't have to show a bracket. We know that it's an expense, but it's for the next year. If it's for the next year, we have to do what? To reverse it by showing a positive amount of 9,800. Okay, then let's proceed. Okay, then they say a tenant paid a rent of 334,000 for the period 1 March 2018 to 31 March 2019. Rent was increased by 3,000 per month from 1 January 2019. Remember, in metric, this is the main trick for the rent. They have a lot of tricks for the rent that you have to deal with. So I'm gonna try to bring all different questions. So what you have to do is to subscribe to this channel, so that when I upload a video, you're gonna see it. I'm gonna try to do the different rent income and rent expense tricks. Okay, so for this one, there is a one month that they paid in advance. Why? Because they say the period for 1 March to 31 March 2019, and our reporting period is ending 28 February, which means that we have to determine amount that we have to subtract. Okay, remember this one is rent what? Income. It's rent income. Okay, then now where do we start? Okay, we have to determine what was the amount before rent increase. How are we going to find that? Okay, let's go to our questions. We're gonna say a rent income, we open a bracket, then the amount that we have is 334,000. Let's minus the increase part first. Remember, they said it increased on 1 January 2019, which means that it increased for January, February and March, né? And it increased by how much? By 3,000 per month, which means that for these 3 months it has increased by 9,000. If we subtract 9,000, we're gonna get the amount which at least we can be able to get how much was the rent for these 13 months. How much was the rent for these 13 months? Okay, if you calculate this, you're gonna get that the rent was 25,000 each and every month before it increased. Remember, the amount that we are looking for is for March 2019, eh? Because we have to subtract it because it doesn't belong to this accounting period according to matching principle. Okay, then the amount of 25,000 is before increase, and on March the rent was already increased. If you add 25,000 plus 3,000 of increase, it's gonna give you 28,000 for March. That we have to take it out because this one is rent income and we don't have to show it in positive. Why? Because we are subtracting it. It doesn't belong to this accounting period. I hope it's clear. Okay, then let's proceed. Then they say the depreciation and profit and loss on vehicle must be recorded. Okay, they are saying the depreciation that we calculate on the previous question, we have to do what? To record it. If you still remember, we calculated the depreciation on the first question of 37,500. This is the normal transaction. It's an expense. We have to do what? To subtract. It's for this accounting period. Okay. Then the other one, remember, we have account for profit on sales of what? Of vehicle. Profit on vehicle is form part of income statement under income. Then the amount is 7,500. All right. Then they said the last balance, the last bullet, a further 43,000 is owed for income tax. A 43,000 is owed for income tax. They said a further, which means that we have to go back to our balances and check how much we were owing SARS. They said SARS income tax provision payment is 155,000, which means that we have to open brackets because we have two balances. It's gonna be income tax. Then we said 155,000 plus 43,000. Then it's gonna give you 198,000. Of course, we have to show brackets because SARS tax decrease our profit. Then if you calculate the total, you're gonna get the amount of 51,500. Okay, then I think we are done with this part. Then now 4.2.3, they said we have to account for retaining income notes. Okay, if you check on this format, they already gave us the balance at the beginning of the year. Then following this one is net profit after tax, which is this one after we subtract tax, is 511,500. Okay, then let's proceed with the question number D. They said ordinary share capital, then 1 March 2018 the balance was 2 million shares in issue and total book value was 7.6 million. Okay, then 31 March 2018 360 share repurchased at 4.1. Okay, on 1 October 2018 new share were issued. Then share on issue on 28 February 2019 is 2.4 million. All right, which balance is going to affect our retaining earnings? Remember, we have the notes for ordinary share capital where we account new share issued, those repurchase of share using average price. However, in case of retaining earnings, we only account for the net effect which affect retaining earnings. All right, how are we going to account for this? Remember, we have to determine how much did we lose or how much did we gain when we sell these shares. Remember, these shares were repurchased by R410 each. We have to determine how much it was costing this year. We have to say 7.6 million divided by 2 million. Then you're gonna get the amount of 308. This year we're worth 380. Then we sold it, we repurchased it back by 4. We repurchased it by 4,10. Then the balance will give you a 30 cent. It's give you a 30 cent. Okay. Then is share repurchased. Then we have to say this 30 cent multiplied by the shares that were repurchased of 360,000. Then it will give you 108,000. Remember, this one is not average. It's the difference between the worth of the share and the amount of that we use to repurchase those shares. Then you have to deduct that amount. It reduces the value of retaining earnings. Okay, then let's proceed. Number E, the dividends, interim dividends were paid in September 2018 by 295,200. Then the final dividends of 20 cents were declared on 28 February 2019. Okay. We have to start. Remember, we have to record all of them. Then we start with interim dividends. The interim dividends was 295,200. Then the final dividends, which is shareholders for dividends, okay, they said it was declared by 20 cents. So which share are we going to use? Remember, we check how many shareholders we have on the date of declaration. If you check, they declare on 28 February 2019 and 28 February 2019 the share issue was 4.4 million. We have to multiply by 4.440 million. Then if you calculate this, it's gonna give you 488 million. Then after that, you have to add them together. Then you get the total of 783,200. Then if you calculate all in all balances, it's gonna give you 485,600. Simple as that. Okay, so I hope you have learned something from today's lesson. However, we didn't complete the all questions today. I'm gonna proceed with the question on the next lesson. I hope you learned something. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that anytime when I uploaded the video, you will be able to be notified. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.